There once was a time where I would have considered Call of Duty to be one of my favorite franchises, and felt that a lot of the early titles were on the tippity top of my own personal list, and they were. Over the years, and as I experienced new games, I fell out of love with the franchise, and the top 5 slowly started to change. After Ghosts and Advanced Warfare were disappointments when they released, I started looking in other directions, and am eternally grateful to these games that started my journey into the world of anything but COD. While my love for COD was dead for over 5 years, and I was just soaking in the world of everything I missed, in the back of my mind, I was wishing for something to bring back my want to play and enjoy a game with my friends. Battlefield and Fortnite satiated that for a bit, but Modern Warfare 2019, and what I consider the best version of Warzone we ever got, it was truly back to the days where me and my group of friends would be playing from when we wake up to when we go to bed. All day, every day, playing Gunfight or grinding for Damascus. It brought back everything I needed at the time. But we hit the same iceberg yet again. 2 disappointing games in a row, Vanguard and Modern Warfare 2. While I gave them a fair shake, the honeymoon period I enjoyed the 2 years prior was over. I found myself in the same cycle of looking for anything else to play, which now felt like an impossible task, since I didn't stop buying video games in those 2 years. I was still working and going to local game shops semi-consistently while continuing to buy games on release. It was honestly too much for me to handle. That's when I turned to content creation and started giving myself a reason to get the ball rolling and start clearing up my backlog. Now, you can guess where this is going. I was ready, again, for the Call of Duty itch to be scratched. Warzone 2 didn't do it for me. Modern Warfare 3, after hearing about its lackluster campaign, didn't do it for me. But X-Defiant did. I was back to watching some of my favorite YouTubers, whether that be FaZe Jev or Merc Music, but I bought into the hype myself. Granted, the barrier to entry is as low as it could possibly be, being a free game, but during the beta, I was on every day from sunrise to sundown, playing games with my friends, and when the full release came out, we got a good week out of it before we went back to our normal rotation of games, being CS, Rocket League, and Sea of Thieves. Now, Black Ops 6 is looking like it may just be the game that bring that back once again, but that's what we think every year. And with only 2 months to go before that pops on the storefronts, I want to talk about what made X-Defiant great, but also made me lose interest so quickly.
Get this off of me!
First and foremost, it's an arcade shooter. It feels like one, and if we left it at that, it would be great. At face value, this should be a game I can get endless amounts of fun out of, as I have in the past with other shooters. But it's just not there, and honestly, my 2 biggest grievances with the game are the maps and the operators. But stay with me here, I kinda want to go from the bottom to the top of how terrible certain parts of the game are. To be 100% truthful, the best thing the game has done is having the basic game modes you expect these days. But even then, how lenient do I really want to be with a game that didn't have TDM on release? I'll give it a teensy weensy break because I am a domination player at heart, but TDM was a very obvious hole that the game needed to fill, that they eventually did. Other than maybe zone control, everything else is pretty run-of-the-mill arcade shooter. I can't remember off the top of my head when zone controller was a thing in any Call of Duty Killer or any Call of Duty in general, but I absolutely admit I could be wrong. I've always liked the idea of racing against the other teams to complete an objective, and it really came down to the wire. In Escort, we are moving a little doggy Boston Dynamics robot through different checkpoints, and then you have to defend those checkpoints you just attacked. It makes for actual good fun competition that isn't seen in other game modes, especially when it's 97% and they're on the cusp of winning, but we throw everything we have at them to stop them dead in their tracks. Or while I think we somewhat struggled to capture all objectives and did it in a very slow 5 minutes, the enemy team doesn't even capture a single objective. I don't even think these were types of game modes until semi-recent. I just realized Black Ops 3 is fucking 9 years old. Jesus Christ. The game modes, while nothing special, are fun, but are something we've been playing for the last 20 years, and nothing new or groundbreaking. Even adding some party modes would be such a game changer when it comes to repeated enjoyment of the game. At this very moment, when I want to take a break from my teammates not playing the fucking objective, I go to TDM, and it's like, okay. I don't dislike any of the modes, and generally the placement of objectives makes sense, but in certain circumstances, the side you spawn on could drastically change your ability to play the objective, which I think is both an issue with the maps and the objectives themselves. Take the mall map for example. I honestly can't be fucked at this very moment to find the name, but if you spawn on the seaside, essentially you can hold the other team down below so that they can't really do anything. It gets to a point where my teammates are doing all the work and I'm just sitting there teabagging the air. And there's always been issues with spawns in the game, but being on the side that's doing the fucking is great, but when you're the one being fucked, you really wish you had skill-based matchmaking, now don't ya? Speaking of skill-based matchmaking, I know a lot of people absolutely hate this system. And when I was playing COD, when that was a thing, I was one of those people. It's never been implemented well, but honestly, sometimes it's sorely missed. Don't get me wrong, it's not very often I get absolutely fucking splattered, but when I do get flattened, I don't learn anything. One thing I enjoy when playing games like CS or Siege is that when I lose, I can learn. But when I don't even stand a chance against some sweaty nerd who hasn't stopped playing since release, it doesn't give me a chance to become better. That's where I think SBMM would be great. Luckily, again, it's an arcade shooter, so it's not too hard to get a grip on if you have played others before. But if you are picking up the first arcade shooter and you get reamed, like, stick them with players at their skill level. Luckily, I feel like most people who played X-Defiant or other COD Killers are at least somewhat versed in some type of shooter, so the gunplay isn't too difficult, and honestly, I'm not going to go in depth into it, because I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to gunplay. I just know when it's good and when it's bad, and it's okay. I don't know, I just work here. But let's talk about some of the lovely maps that Ubisoft has provided us with. And most I have the same problem with as I do with the mall map. Sometimes I feel like there is verticality for verticality's sake. Some of my favorite maps are essentially just somewhat flat, 3 lanes, well-flowing maps, whether that's Noodleplex, Pueblito, or if we have a tiny bit more verticality like Echelon HQ. I mean, even Arena's pretty okay, but maps like Attica Heights, where you can drop down on B or shoot from your spawn towards B with pathways both up and down, essentially splitting the map into 2 different maps, makes it feel really big or too hard to maneuver when you inevitably fucking jump to your death. Or it just becomes a long shot haven, whether on the sides of the map or straight down the middle. Pueblito, like I mentioned, doesn't have the typical 3-lane layout that I feel most COD players talk highly of, but unlike those with high walkways, you stand a chance when trying to attack B. And it can be a back and forth throughout the entire game, when in Mayday, they have to run up towards you to get to B. And Showtime, you're all just surrounded by high ground, making it so much harder to win back the area after it's been captured, or to even capture in the first place. I don't think there are any maps I would say I truly despise, and I think they're all good enough for what they need to be, but if I could just play Arena and Noodleplex all day, I would, as long as I'm not getting fucking tased every 3 seconds. Operators, operators, operators. Oh man, do I have a lot to say about operators. I have never looked at a game with operators and started screaming and yelling about how fun and amazing the game will be with all these special But when BO3 introduced them, I was kind of excited for them, but in reality, I just quickly got annoyed when everybody spams the same shit over and over. And holy fuck is this game 20 times worse. So I'm a pretty passive player. I like me some healing for when me and my team are on objectives, or to toss in a high traffic spot to help us heal mid-firefight. It's a pretty supportive ability to toss a thing on the ground that your teammates can stand in, or I can play super aggressive and use my little pill bottle opening thingy to heal myself on the go, or to drive by my teammates with health. Debatably, the most annoying part of Libertad is the ult, which gives players inside of it major healing and double the health. But it's pretty counterable considering they're stuck in a relatively small space, and it doesn't last for very long. Then there are the sweaty Rainbow Six nerds that have some of the most useless abilities in the games. A shocky spiky ground coil? Oh, I'm so scared. A hard hat to help with headshot damage? Oh no, your fragile little body is easier to hit anyways. Shield? Shoot for the knees. And honestly, the only one that really does anything is the ADS, which is essentially a trophy system that takes out enemy throwables. I've never even seen somebody use the shield, to be honest, so I don't really have a whole lot to say. Besides, it's just kinda meh. There's the little cutie patooties that sit behind their shields, which is almost as non-offensive as the others. I personally don't have a problem with risking my life or tossing a grenade to destroy a barrier. They're kind of pushovers anyway, taking one mag, but again, they're kind of predictable because you have to be behind the shield for it to be effective. Dropping it on an objective gives you at most like 5 more seconds to live, because people will just rush in or shoot it then kill you anyways. But again, the other shield, not the pop-up one, the one you hold in your hands, never seen it been used. I think I was killed by it once and I was annoyed, but then never again did it pop up in my game. And with their ult, I'm not even really sure what it does. I know you kind of have a shotgun kind of thing, but it's easily countered by just running up all in someone's shit and shooting them. But if you don't rush in, they have a lot of health, and it takes a while to take out the bubble shield. What can sometimes thoroughly annoy me is that they have a higher base health than anyone else. I wouldn't really have known that if they didn't show how much health the person had at the time they killed you, but oh, the amount of times I outgunned someone, whether beating them to the punch or they beat me to the punch, but I hit them with more shots and they kill me while they have like 9 health. Just knowing that I did 111 health and they only had to do 100 is a skill issue, but it's still so fucking annoying. And oh, don't get me started on the annoying fucking stupid ass flame on Johnny Storm shit. Like, okay, toss a fire drone at me. That's cool. Burn my skin off my body. That's fine too. It might be a little morbid, but the fact that their bullets are fucking flaming all the time, no matter what. The amount of gunfights I've won, but still died to the fire tick, it's absolutely infuriating. Like, yeah, I'm low on health. They're the smart one for playing the character that does damage after they're dead, but that doesn't change anything. At least nothing, and I mean nothing, can compare to the operator that needs no introduction. Ubisoft's personal Puddlegate scandal. I would like to present to you the operators from the Watch Dogs franchise. Before I go too deep on them, I just want to say, Ubisoft, come on. I think you know most of us want Aiden. Where's Aiden? Give us Aiden. We like Aiden. Okay, listen. It is so fucking annoying to go against these fucking script kiddies. Like, I can deal with my screen going all fuzzy, and you stealing my healing canisters every once in a while, but nobody uses the stealing ability, because the stupid little robot spider skedaddling across the floor is one of the worst things to ever grace an arcade shooter. There is no button to fight against it, so you're fucked anyways. It sits on your face, so you'll be lucky to see the kid sprinting at you full speed, and it essentially stops you dead in your tracks, leaving you open to be blasted from all angles. Like, okay, Black Ops 4 had this, but I could get it off my face by pressing buttons on my controller. It's not like the Denizens. I can't punch it off or spam a button to reach up to my face and rip it off. You're dead in the water for 3 to 5 seconds. I just can't deal with it. I recorded a video for my second channel, and I can't bear to rewatch it, because I was so pissed. I think I remember countering 19 shocks in an hour of recording. I need to bring it down. Woo-saw. So, not only was this video a way to talk about a game I so badly wanted to root for, but inevitably left me disappointed, but also to talk about the bad taste that a lot of the Call of Duty community has left in my mouth over the past decade. I can sometimes fall into the boat of being overly negative when it comes to being overly dramatic and talking shit when really most of the game I can be having fun. What tends to happen every time we as a community are not happy with what Call of Duty is offering that year, we look for something else to grab onto. Something to compare our favorite shooter to, and to demean what Treyarch, Infinity Ward, or Sledgehammer Games put a lot of work into. We point at X-Defiant and yell at the top of our lungs that this is what we want. It happened during the Infinite Warfare era, where everybody was bigging up games like Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 just to drop them when the next game came around, or to go back to the old games that hold a special place in our hearts. As a Call of Duty fan myself, I've played these games and given into the hype of this new game becoming what COD could never be, just to put it back on the shelf and to never touch it again, while scratching my head and wondering why that void was never filled. Nothing will ever stand up to Call of Duty and swipe the crown off its head, just like nothing will overtake Overwatch in the hero shooter genre. As players, we are always looking to patch holes and to have developers make the games that we want them to, but that will never really be the case. Nothing will ever satiate your want to have a game like the older titles, and you want it to feel like you're back in that time, because you aren't in that time anymore. A lot of us were in school playing these games, no responsibilities, tons of friends on every single day, talking shit and having the times of our lives, and the kids of today will look back at Fortnite and Warzone the same way we look at Black Ops or the original Modern Warfare. I know me saying it won't change anything, but I want people to understand that we as people have changed over the last 20-ish years of COD's existence. The people developing them have changed. The gaming landscape has changed. But what won't change is our need to compare or the danger of nostalgia. I go back almost every year before a new COD game comes out, and I play the old campaigns. I get really into it. The multiplayer, the third modes, whether that's zombies or Spec Ops. And while I wholeheartedly love these games, they've slowly started to show their age. What was once an amazingly cinematic experience in COD 4 is still that. But in my head, it's this beautiful masterpiece, and then I play it and realize it's kinda ugly looking and clunky to control. But then as soon as my time with a new game has come to an end, that image of a pristine game is back. Then I pick up another new shooter, or play a story game, and the cycle continues. I want to go into Black Ops 6 with an as open mind as possible, but I also don't want to forget my time with X-Defiant, as frustrating as it was. It taught me a lot of things about myself, and about what I really want out of a COD game. I wanted to take me back to being a fun-loving child that hadn't been through tons of life-changing events that left me a scarred, pessimistic adult. I want my friends and I to set up times and play some games together again, and for lives not to get in the way, whether that is kids or partners or work, but none of that will ever happen. I'm very fortunate in how my day works out, that I have time to play, work, and hang out with my significant other, who also loves video games, so we get to play together, but also that she's understanding that when I want to play with my friends, that I just want to spend time with the boys that I grew up with. But a lot of them don't have that same luxury. They have kids or jobs that keep them on the move, or they have just outgrown the thing that brought us all together in the first place. If you don't get it by now, I'll give you one final example. One of my favorite YouTubers, Merc Music. He's been in a lot of drama over the last couple years, and I don't want to bring any of that up here, but from what I remember him as, he is no longer that. He once went from someone, a lot like myself, making shit jokes and playing Call of Duty, doing dumb shit and having fun with friends, to being an adult in a relationship with a house and a ton of responsibilities. We have both grown up, and when something comes along, I jump on his channel and watch him play, but it doesn't give me what I'm looking for. But while watching his older content, I get teleported back to where I was when those videos were coming out. I don't necessarily miss old COD or old Merc. They're still there. I can play them or watch them whenever I want. I miss how I felt during those times in my life. I know this got really soppy here for a second, but sometimes I gotta stop making jokes and talk about my genuine feelings. I play up my anger and make fun of aspects in video games for videos. Every single YouTuber does, and if they say they don't, that's a fucking lie. I don't fake anything when it comes to my opinion, but stretching it for entertainment or to get a point across is a relatively common thing for any YouTuber. I'm excited for BO6, and I do sometimes have fun with X-Defiant. I'm going to be playing older CODs on my third channel, Burn Rada, which has, since writing this script that I'm reading, has changed to 2 Rada, and the profile picture is really dumb, but it doesn't matter. I hope you will join me. I'll be playing BO6 and X-Defiant there, alongside whatever else I felt like doing that day. All of this is long-winded to say, the term COD Killer is fucking stupid. Just play the games you enjoy. God damn, it doesn't matter. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
First rate town, but all you ever notice are the ways it stretched too far. And it has been